Hey guys, JB here from Alpha Wolf Consulting. So I wanted to start off today just introducing my course on self-validation or workshop. So this workshop will cover basically everything, or at least everything that I think is important in self-validation that I've learned in my personal life. Now, to understand the importance of personal development in our own lives is quite vital, as without personal development, without understanding our psychology, without understanding the intricacies of our mind, we are slaves to our mind. So what I wanted to do was give you the key aspects that I think are vital, but also an understanding that self-validation is the first step in understanding personal development and understanding, just a bit more about your psychology, because you got to understand, okay, self-validation is the base level. So we can try and get self-belief, we can try and get self-worth, we can try and understand all these different aspects of our mind. But if we don't understand basically how to validate our thoughts, beliefs, and opinions, none of that work is ever going to work. That's why you may find that you do a personal development course, or you do you read a personal development book, and it's great while you're reading it, but then a week later, you're back in the same spot. You don't get the results that you want to get. And that's because you've got to understand that at the core, we have to first be able to validate our beliefs, our thoughts, our opinions. We've got to be able to validate everything internally rather than externally. Okay, because validating externally is great. That's what everyone does. That's what we're trained to do throughout our life. We're conditioned to validate externally. For example, in my life, if I wanted to think that I am attractive and valuable to the opposite sex, well, how do I do that? I have to look in a mirror. I have to ask my friends. I have to get my external environment to validate me. Do you see the problem? So while it's great, while I've got the external environment validating me, once one small thing goes against me, it's all for nothing. So you got to understand, self-validation gives us that stability in our life to be able to validate internally. I am worthy. I am good. I'm valuable, I'm attractive, I am a good person, the person who I want to be is someone of value. Okay. So in my life, I've always subconsciously struggled with this concept. Okay. As throughout my life, my opinion was never valid. Okay. Throughout my life, every time, because I am unique, in terms of how I think, how I operate is completely foreign to how anyone else operates. Okay, I'm not saying I'm special, but what I'm saying is the way I operate is different to others. So if I'm trying to validate externally, okay, I have to do what they do. I have to believe what they believe, because I'm not going to get consensus from my external environment if my ideals or ideas go against that external environment. Okay, so just like that, like how you operate, okay, is completely unique to you, unless you were trying to fit in, unless you were trying to get agreement with everyone around you by altering who you are so that you are more appealing or more, I guess the way I put it is you lower yourself so that you fit in with what they believe. Because you've got to understand, okay, if your external environment, like most, okay, is surrounded by people who all want to conform, who all want to be liked, who all want to be popular, and all of that. Think back to your schooling years. Think back to coming through high school. You know what I mean? The popular kids were only popular because there was a consensus that what they thought was right or how they acted was right, because everyone wanted to be like them. Okay, so you got to understand, the only way you'll ever fit in with other people is, one, if you find people who, think like you, believe what you believe genuinely, and you're genuine about who you are and they accept you for who you are, or if you alter who you are, you refine who you are, you put on a fake mask, you really lower your uniqueness to be a square like everyone else. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. I lived my life trying to do that. You know what it did? It destroyed who I was. For me, in my life, I was made to feel like who I was the wrong kind of person. How I saw things was the wrong way, and that I should always hide that uniqueness from the world so that I would fit in with other people. Not a good way to live. Not a good way to really shine as who you are, because who you are is unique to you. Who you are makes you special. The beliefs you hold, the thoughts you have, the way you approach things makes you unique, just like it makes me unique. So, unfortunately, what did this do to me? It led me to have a fear about who I am, an unrealistic fear that if I was myself, I would be attacked emotionally, verbally, physically. Okay. And this isn't just me saying it. This is me explaining that this is what happened to me in my life. Okay. Every time I was who I was attacked for it. Now, granted, I'm not a perfect person. I have really bad ADHD. So when I was younger, a teenager growing up, okay, who I was very difficult to be around. Okay. I was very, not volatile, but very energetic, very, quick to think, quick to say things. I was hard to be around because of many different personal traits, but also as a result of people attacking me for who I was. As I developed and grew throughout my teenage years, this caused me to never feel good enough, which caused me to become highly aggressive and angry towards people who didn't see my value. You know what I mean? So there was always that underlying resentment that I had for other people because other people didn't think I was valuable. Other people didn't accept me. So the way I personally got around this was by disconnecting myself from others, was when I realized that the people I was surrounding myself with, the environments I was putting myself in, were not the right environments. So thankfully, for me personally, I had enough strength to be able to separate myself from other people. Now, that's not a good thing, because what that did is that led me to have a hard time to reintegrate back into it. For example, I only ever speak with people that I feel are valuable, that I feel align with me. If you don't align with me, I don't really see a point in knowing you. So it's not that, that's not the right way to approach it, but that's one of our coping mechanisms. That's one of our defense mechanisms, is that when we feel rejected, we then want to reject them. So, through really understanding, these fears that I had, these unrealistic, I never felt good enough. And why was that? Because I always felt that for me to feel good enough, I had to have you agree exactly with me. I had to have you agree that what I thought, what I believed, what I felt was right. And it's very difficult because most people don't agree, and it's not a bad thing because we don't always have to agree. And that's the beauty of self-validation, is that you understand that it's up to you to validate who you are, to validate your beliefs, to validate your opinion over other people. Because when you can do that, you know your worth, okay? You know that the beliefs that I hold, the feelings that I feel, you know, the thoughts or the strategies that I have on approaching things, they may not be right, but they're my way of doing it. It's my way of approaching it. So for me personally, okay, when I'm able to do that and able to do that confidently, even if I'm wrong, I'm okay, because that's how we learn, through failure. Okay. So, you know, this personal tragedy for me, in terms of, you know, always feeling like that I was worthless, that I wasn't good enough because no one agreed with me, because people didn't think that my way was right, and all of this, okay, it was really the key to unlocking the shackle, to unlocking the shackles of my mental slavery, of my mind, okay? Because when I truly understood that these things that make me different, or these aspects that make me unique, okay, when I truly understand that and lean into that, I don't have to try and compete with another, okay? Comparison to another is always the worst way to live life, because when we compare to another, what we're doing is we're trying to replicate or recreate their life. Okay. And I spent a lot of time doing this, you know, to how I would present myself, to how I would present myself to the opposite sex, to how I would try and date. And what I realized, and it's only recently that I truly understand this, is that these aspects of myself, where I was trying to be someone else, living someone else's life, I was drawing in only ever people that liked that fake version of me. So when they saw the real version of me, they didn't like it. They thought I was being inauthentic, which made me feel that the real version of me was never good enough. So that's the importance of understanding and knowing, you know, how to validate yourself internally, is that you don't need another person to tell you who you are is good enough when you determine who you are is good enough. And if other people don't see it, that's okay. They don't know you like you know me, just like you don't know me like I know me. So, you know, this course, this workshop, is just going to be a deep dive into understanding a couple of things, okay? What is self-validation? What is my thesis on self-validation through my experience, through my understanding, through my learning? What what have I found from my experience? What has my experience been? So I give you a glimpse into some of the lessons that I had to learn and some of the observations that I made throughout my life that really clicked it in to the dangers of validating externally, of trying to always get a consensus from everyone around me that who I was good enough. All right. And then we cover, how do I build self-validation? How can you build self-validation? How is self-validation built? Right? Because these are important things, because when we understand this, it's not that it's a one-time thing and you learn this one time and you're set for life. Because you've got to understand this is moment to moment. In every moment, okay, you have the ability to either lift yourself up or tear yourself down. All right. I give you my process of using the universe to develop self-love, to develop self-validation. Because you've got to understand, okay, whichever way you look at it, you are a part of the universe and not disjointed from the universe. You and me and everyone around is made up of the exact same particles as the sun, as the stars. Oh, well, the sun is the stars, but as the moon, as the trees, as the birds, as the wind. We are not different from anything in the universe. Therefore, if we are made of the same particles or the same strings as everything around us, what does that mean? We are everything around us. We are not different from it. So I give you some of my understandings around that. All right. And then we just do a quick wrap up of, what have we covered? What are the important things? What are some things to think about? What is important to keep in mind? And then what I want to do is I want to give you some of my personal activities that I have created based on different practices and processes to really work on getting basically you to my level. That's the goal of this workshop, is for you to know a little bit about what I know on the subject, the best bits. Because for me personally, I have studied this my entire life. My entire life has been a struggle of me trying to deal up here, trying to get through, trying to unlock so that I can live my best life. So a key thing to understand is our language patterns, okay? And how our language influences our beliefs, okay? Because our language is in our thoughts, and our thoughts shape our beliefs, and our beliefs shape our emotional feelings, or our emotions and our feelings. Our beliefs shape our reality. All right. And I've got some activities for you guys to do. Then I teach you about retrospection, okay? How to look back on past experiences to identify what is real. Now, reality, you have to understand, is up here, not out there. Reality doesn't exist in the world around us. For if you don't have a brain, nothing exists. Now, you can argue, well, it would exist even if I wasn't alive. Great, but you would not feel it. You would not comprehend it. You would not understand it. You've got to understand that in here is where we create everything. The external environment is, by definition, an apparition of what happens up here. The external environment is, okay, what we think, what we believe, what we feel shapes our reality. And I can go into it into the 10th degree of depth, if you like, or I can explain it quite simply to the point of your brain, okay, doesn't understand, okay, what sight looks like. Your eyes see. Then they transfer what they see into electrical signals that your brain interprets. How do you know what you see is real? You're only seeing electrical impulses. Do you get it? You hear. A vibration touches your ear, goes into your eardrum. It turns it into an electrical impulse. And your brain determines what that electrical impulse means, just like smell, just like touch, just like taste. You've got to understand your brain doesn't have the ability to go out there and experience the world. It is experiencing through sensory organs. So you got to understand, our brain may be fooled, but also our brain has the power to create and shape our reality. And then we cover, validating oneself. So this is a practice of how do you actually validate yourself? Okay. How do you validate yourself above other people's opinions? So that even if you're wrong, okay, and it's not about being egotistical or overconfident or anything like that. It's about knowing that I choose what is real in my life. I choose the meaning in my life, because meaning is not external from me. Meaning is internal. That's the key to life, is understanding everything's internal. Nothing's external. If someone does something to me that upsets me, for example, let's say I'm walking down the street, someone walks up and slaps me. Okay, ow, that hurt. Yeah, so I'm feeling a physical sensation of pain. What is pain? Like, if someone slaps you, does it instantly mean that it's painful? No, that's a conditioned response to, oh, getting slapped hurts. Now I might have swelling and rah and all of that, physical bruising, whatever, damage, whatever, but it doesn't mean that it's painful. I assign how painful something is in my mind. Trust me, you can look at many great people. Take, for example, David Goggins. He is able to perform at a high level in the most extreme and, I would say, barbaric ideals of pain. Yet, how can he do that, yet I can't? Because he doesn't accept that that level of pain and suffering is his reality. He doesn't accept that his body will break if he continues to push through. Yet I would feel the opposite. If I was running on a broken leg, that would be freaking painful. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter about that. What you've got to understand is that we create the damage in our mind. If someone does something and they say something to me that offends me, it's not what they said that is offensive. It is how I perceived it that is offensive. Do you get it? All right. And then we cover. Oof. And then we cover some practices on understanding full brain activation. Now, key thing to remember here is that we have two hemispheres in our mind, okay? A left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. The left hemisphere is logic. Left hemisphere is our conscious hemisphere. The right hemisphere is our subconscious hemisphere. The right hemisphere is our emotions, is our feelings, is our subconscious. But our subconscious does not have our language core. Our subconscious does not know logic. Okay, so if we're able to activate our left hemisphere and our right hemisphere simultaneously, what happens? Well, now we have our logic, our language, our conscious thought, but also our emotion, our feeling, our subconscious thought. So we're able to merge that to where now we can assign language to feelings. We can assign, and work out and understand at a conscious level our emotions, our feelings, our subconscious thought patterns, which is pretty cool. And then what I want to teach you after that is how do we use and implement that full brain activation where we can consciously understand our emotions, our feelings, our subconscious thought patterns, okay? And we have the ability of language and logic to implant our validation into our subconscious. Because if you consciously validate yourself, that is great. You will think you are worthy, but you will never feel it. Why? Because if you don't deal with the subconscious, you will never feel it, because your conscious brain does not control feeling. Your conscious brain controls your thoughts, controls your, language, controls your focus and all of that, but it does not control your emotions, your feelings. So what we want to do is we consciously want to implant our validations that we want, our thoughts, our beliefs, our opinions, okay, our feelings of what is, into our subconscious so that we feel it. And to understand this is to understand psychology, kinesiology, which is a great practice that helps us do that. And that's what I explain to you in more detail, and I help you through. And then what we want to do is we want to understand, okay, how are our beliefs built? Our beliefs are built through the language we use. If something happens to me, or if something happens, creates two completely different beliefs. One is that I am in the first person experiencing this happening directly to me. The other is I am in the third person experiencing this happening outside of me. Okay, so one is where something is happening to me. The other is something is happening and I am just experiencing it. Okay, so understanding your language, understanding how your language influences your belief structure, okay, of how we create beliefs and how we structure our beliefs. But we got to understand, okay, our thoughts shape our reality. Our beliefs set the limitations and the boundaries of what is real in our mind. And as we've realized, our mind creates our reality. So understanding this is very powerful stuff. And then we go through, and finally, we need to understand how to use our beliefs to influence our feelings, okay? And our biochemical, and how our feelings influence our biochemical responses. So think about this. If I wanted to be happy, if I force myself to smile, what happens? Okay, so I smile. So now I'm using a belief of, if I smile, I feel happy. So when I smile, my brain will start to change my emotional state to happy, because I believe that I'm happy. What happens when I believe that I'm happy? I start to feel happy. What happens when I start to feel happy? My brain releases any chemicals associated with happiness, like serotonin, dopamine, all of that jazz. You know what I mean? So these are the things. But also, on the other hand, okay, a very important thing to understand is that you can either consciously control it or subconsciously control it. Now, a key thing to remember is you don't control your subconscious thought. Your subconscious thought is independent of your conscious thought. So what happens when we don't understand our subconscious? Our subconscious controls our feelings. So if something happens that I didn't expect or that I didn't want to happen in life, I start to feel stressed. I start to feel negative. What happens when I feel stressed? What happens when I feel negative? Then my biochemical response is stress hormones. Okay? You got to understand that your subconscious mind does not understand reason and logic unless you are in the process of full brain activation. Okay, so unless both hemispheres are activated at the same time, your subconscious mind does not understand reason. That is why, okay, I can have things going against me in life that aren't dramatic, okay, like if someone breaks up with me, okay, and I feel sad because I thought that I was in love with them, right? My subconscious thought doesn't understand that, they broke up with me because they didn't want to be with me. No, my subconscious mind feels that feeling of sorrow, feels that feeling of stress, of anxiety. What does it do? It just starts dumping out chemicals, stress hormones, cortisol, all the others. So you got to understand that your beliefs influence your feelings, which then influence your biochemical responses. And that's what we'll go through and I'll teach you. All right. Well, you have a great day, and I'd love to see you on this workshop. Thanks so much. Bye.